Okay, Matt, it's all you.
Great, thanks, Anne-Marie. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great, thank you very much. I'd like to echo Anne-Marie's comments and welcome everyone here today, and thank you for your time. I know everyone's really busy, and glad that you've decided to share some of it with us. Hopefully at the end of this hour or so, you'll find the session to have been very informative and that you've got some information on how to save yourself some time. Our agenda today is I'll start by talking a little bit about ToxPlanet, our history, and then I'll go over what we see to be the three major obstacles to performing an alternative assessment. Then we will address the biggest obstacle. We'll talk a little bit about the solution, and then I'll move into a demonstration of the ToxPlanet platform. Then we'll summarize with a conclusion, and at that point we will address any questions that y'all have posted throughout the presentation.
Hey, Matt, we can see your screen, but we're seeing only thumbnails. Can you enlarge to the slide that you're focused on? There you go. Perfect.
Perfect, okay. So who is ToxPlanet? We're located in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, but we're actually a virtual company. We have staff in North Carolina, Colorado, Massachusetts, Japan, and in India. And pretty much since inception, we've been a virtual company, so we've been doing this for quite some time. We were founded as Expert Publishing back in 2003, and then we renamed ourselves in 2015 ToxPlanet. And we serve the toxicologists and pharmacologists, industrial hygienists, product stewards, and risk assessors, but I think perhaps a better name for the type of people that use our products are chemical safety professionals. Regardless of what you ultimately do with the information, they're typically people that are trying to manage and mitigate chemical safety. And what we do is we provide chemical hazard and toxicology literature, and we save our researchers a great deal of time by putting the most comprehensive database of literature available at their fingertips. We like to believe that our expert index returns 100% relevant search results, and I'll show you that when we get into the product. And we deliver content users expect to find, and then delight users with content they did not know even existed. But the bottom line with all of this is that we save people time, a lot of time. You can see my bio on the screen, but the short story is I got into the information business totally by accident 35 years ago. 25 years ago, I entered the chemical hazard and toxicology space and have been in that space ever since. About 15 years ago, I decided to leave the corporate world and start my own company. And it wasn't rocket science or anything like that. It was simply I wanted to do and implement the products and changes that our customers wanted us to do, but we've never been able to do that. And so that's what we've been doing since inception. And as we go through the product and we go through all the databases, I can pretty much assure you that everything that you see has been as a result of feedback of our users. So we'd like to hear back from our customers and prospects, and if you ever have any suggestions or ideas as to what we should include in our product, please let us know. I do have a disclaimer. Throughout today's presentation, I will refer to many different databases and frameworks, methods, and software. All of them are property of their respective owners, and we make no claim whatsoever to ownership of any of those products or services. We do have formal relationships with some of the database providers, but we do not have any formal relationships with any providers of alternative methods. Before I go any further, I do want to say that I'll be using the terms frameworks, methods, tools, assessment, and alternative assessments or assessments interchangeably. So the first obstacle performing an alternative assessment is selecting a framework. About a month ago, I could have named 8 to 10 frameworks. And then while preparing for today, I encountered a really good paper by Alison Gauthier et al., in which they review 32 different frameworks. And in that paper, they actually mentioned that they identified over 100 different tools. So my universe went quickly from 8 to 10 to over 100. And when you factor in homegrown proprietary tools, partial informal tools, the universe gets even bigger. So it begs the question as to why are there so many different methods? What you're seeing is a sampling of the methods that are available out there. The reality is that there's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all method. All of the methods were created to satisfy a particular need or industry segment. According to Gauthier, the frameworks they evaluated fell into 5 different categories: screening and prioritization, database utilization, hazard assessment, exposure and risk assessment, and certification and labeling. And of course, within these categories, there are certainly subcategories to consider. Selecting a suitable framework can be very time-consuming. One has to identify a suitable framework, verify it works for their application, run validation tests, and implement. It may require tweaking or even going back to the drawing board if that method does not work. The second obstacle to performing an assessment is data dependencies. A common thread between the various frameworks is their dependency on data. After all, the frameworks are rules-based, and the rules require data to complete the assessment. What you're seeing are some of the endpoints that need to be captured in order to conduct an assessment. Depending on the complexity of the assessment, some frameworks require as few as 5 or 6 endpoints, while others require 50 or more endpoints. Regardless of the method, finding data is always a key part of the workflow. The third obstacle to an assessment is the disparate sources. These are all data sources that I'm sure you recognize. The data sources that contain all the endpoints that you need to conduct an assessment. The problem with all of these databases, is that they are available on all these different websites. In fact, this page may look like some of your bookmarks. So what is the real obstacle to conducting an assessment? And we believe that the big obstacle is time. It's no secret that finding content is a time-consuming process. According to DuPont, 20% of a scientist's time is spent searching and accessing information. McKinsey found that employees spend 1.8 hours every day searching and gathering information. Interact learned that nearly 20% of business time, the equivalent of a day a week, is wasted by employees searching for information. And finally, IDC discovered that employees spend roughly 30% of their workday searching for information. So this is a little redundant, but what it's telling us is that people spend 20 to 30% of their time looking for information to conduct their jobs. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the occupational exposure banding project being conducted by the CDC. A couple years ago, Commander McKernan, who's heading that project, gave a presentation at the product stewardship meeting in which he said manually creating an occupational exposure band for a single chemical takes about 4 hours. And after her presentation, I asked her how much of that time was spent gathering the data to conduct the assessment. And she kind of chuckled and said 75% of the time. So 3 of the 4 hours needed to conduct an occupational exposure banding exercise is looking for data. So why do people spend so much time looking for content? First one is link rot. Link rot is when a link simply no longer works and you get errors like you find on your page you're seeing on the screen right now. There's also content drift, meaning that the content is still there, but it's moved. For an example would be if the EPA redoes their website and reorganizes it or changes the URL structures. The link you have no longer takes you to the content that was once at that link, and so you're going to have to spend time looking for that content. Of course, users deal with wrong or missing or incomplete sources. There's too much information available sometimes. As I showed you on the previous screens, we're talking about trying to find content on multiple repositories. And of course, perhaps the biggest problem is that search engine indexing. While Google and Yahoo may be great for looking for text, we all know that searching for chemical nomenclature on those search engines did not necessarily end up with good results. So the solution is a single place, single web portal where you can go, you can type in the chemical one time and find all the sources you're looking for. And that's called ToxPlanet. We can provide that for you. ToxPlanet, and I'll show you in a minute, comprises 11 products. We include 247 different databases or collections. We've added 45 databases in just the last year, and I'll go over those as well. We have 673 lists. We cover approximately 400,000 different chemicals, and you can find those chemicals looking for using any of our over 3 million chemical terms and synonyms. So let me show you how ToxPlanet can save you a lot of time. We have a mixed audience today, and so I'll be showing the product as if people hadn't seen it before. Those of you that are users will recognize a lot of functionality, and hopefully if you haven't seen the My Expert functionality, it'll be something that you'll be able to include in your workflow. So the way our system works is we can search by any identifier we happen to have. I'm going to do a search on benzene. And I'm searching on benzene not to impress you with how much content we have on benzene, but benzene is a good example to show the total functionality of our product. Right now we're asking the system to search our index with starting with that CAS number. And if I would do a search on submit, what's happened is it automatically recognizes that 71432 is benzene, and it takes you to the benzene screen. What we have here is what we call our chemical identity page. Just give you an opportunity to confirm that this is in fact the chemical you're looking for. And so we can see we have benzene right here. We got here using this particular CAS number. But we could have gotten to this very same screen using any of these identifiers right here. So regardless of which term you used, you would have been able to get to the benzene screen. Up top here is we have our tabs, or what we like to call our different products, and under each of these tabs we have different types of content nested under there, and I'll show you that. But let's start with the ChemExpert tab. You would click on ChemExpert. Comes back and the system is telling you that we have 285 documents about benzene. And I say about benzene because these are documents specifically about benzene. They're not simply documents that contain the word benzene. This is not a full text search. These are searches based on the meta that we've added to these documents. And again, these are benzene specific documents. So in this particular case, I want to see what HSDB says about benzene. I can scroll down to HSDB. I can click on HSDB, and what you see right here is under HSDB we have the benzene document. You can click on the benzene document and it'll open the HSDB document on benzene. In this particular case, since it's an HTML document, you have navigation, and if you want to go to the toxicity section of the document and you want to go see toxicity summary, it'll take you to that portion of the HSDB document. Of course, you can click on the tab and go back to your search results. And so again, these are all the different collections that we have under which we have a document on benzene. So let's, for example, go look at the New Zealand database, which is their GHS database. You can click on this particular document. And now we've gone to the New Zealand EPA website, and we've taken you specifically to the benzene document, and here is their GHS classification information. Again, we can go back to the Tox Planet tab and continue doing our searches. So what we have here under every one of these tabs, we have one or more documents, and all of these links will take you to a document specifically about the chemical we searched on. Of course, we can go to Repro Expert. Repro Expert is a collection of reproductive and toxicology databases. Of course, a lot of that information lives in the ChemExpert database, but here under Repro Expert, we have databases that are specifically about reproductive toxicology. So for example, of ReproTox, you can click on the benzene document, and now we're in the ReproTox document on benzene. We can go to List Expert, and then List Expert is lists on which chemicals can appear. In this particular case, benzene appears on 354 lists. Just to make it real simple, we will scroll down and look at CalProp 65. It is on CalProp 65, but we've indexed it 3 ways because of benzene. Benzene as a component of diesel engine exhaust, and benzene as a component of emissions from combustion of coal. You could click on the benzene link. It's going to open that row in this case, rows in CalProp 65, and you have the hits from that particular list. You even have the dates listed. If you want to see the entire list, you can click here and view the complete Prop 65 list. You can click here and view the entire, you can view the source list. In fact, if you go to View Complete List, you have now the entire list, and of course at this point you can export the list to Excel. So there's multiple things you can do with the information once you have found it. Let's go back to the search results. Over here we have REACH registrations. ECHA will not license content. ECHA does not believe that they own the content, that the content on their websites belongs to the people that submitted the information, and therefore they're unwilling to license the content. So in this particular case, we're having to link out to their website. They have 2 different documents, dossiers on benzene, one which would be the full registration, and then there's one that's an intermediate registration. And of course, you would click on that, and it takes you to the dossier of benzene on the ECHA site. The same thing applies to the CNL inventory. Again, it's not content that we can license, but if you want to go see the CNL on benzene, it takes you to that document. Now, we have recently, in the last year or so, we have started linking out to content. It just showed you a couple examples. The reason we're doing that is because of typically because of licensing issues. But I want to make sure that you understand that we aren't simply linking you to another website or to a search engine or search screen or to perhaps search results. In every single case, when we link you out to an external website, we are taking you to the specific document that you're looking for. So all of the external content behaves as if it were internal content. So if you're like most users, you probably have the go-to databases that you want to use. If you're a toxicologist, you have the set of information that you use. If you're a hygienist, perhaps you use a different set. There are not many people that actually need to use all 247 different databases in here. Perhaps in an organization like Exxon, with their population of users, organizationally they might need all 247, but it's unlikely that a particular individual is going to need access to all. And then when you add in the lists, one of the funny things about this is we created this product to help deal with noise on the internet with the explosion of content. And to a certain level, we've introduced noise to our own system. But what we have for that is what we call MyExpert. And MyExpert is functionality that allows you to filter the results and only see the content that you want to see. You can think of it as creating your own subscription within your ToxPlanet subscription. So this is how it would work. You go up to Options, and you go work on your settings for MyExpert. And imagine that you're working on an alternative assessment method that has 15 different endpoints that you need to grab in order to conduct. And this is just for illustration, but let's just say that we want to grab all of the GHS type information. So we've got the New Zealand GHS. You would have Justice from Germany. We have GHS. We would keep HSDB in there. We want to keep ITER in there. Let's keep the TEDx list of endocrine disruptors in there. And let's keep WHMIS in there from Canada. And then under lists, we want to, let's see, we'll include the boys' neurotoxicants. We want CalProp 65. We want to include, we want to include the DSL categorization, so we can mark all of these. We want to add the iris carcinogens, and let's say the iris neurotoxicants, the weight of evidence characterizations. We'll add a couple more and then we'll continue. And let's just add the IARC values. And we'll just go ahead and add all the IARC values. I also want to make sure that I get to see the CNL inventory, and then I get to see the REACH dossiers. And then I click Save. And now what I've just done is create a subscription within my ToxPlanet subscription. And we'll start the process again. So let's do a search. We'll do the most recent search on benzene. Results will come back. You'll still have access to everything that's part of your subscription under all the various tabs. But you can go over to MyExpert, and what you have in MyExpert are simply the ones that you wanted. Expand all nodes, and you have them all there in one place. So this is where we believe that you can save a considerable amount of time in doing your alternative assessments, regardless of which method you're using, whether it be green screen or one of the other ones. You can set up your MyExpert to include the endpoints that you're needing to capture for that assessment, and then run this real quickly and have access to all the underlying content. I mentioned that we added 45 new databases in the last year or so, and at the end of you'll get a copy of the presentation, and on the last page there's a page of links that show you where you can go find this information. But these are databases, I'll scroll through here quickly, these are databases that we've added in the last year or so to ToxPlanet. And like it shows right here, we've added nearly 900,000 documents to the system, and we are currently working on an enhancement that will be adding another 600,000 or 700,000 documents to the system in the next month or so. So we will be covering about 900,000 chemicals, and we'll probably have something on the order of 6 or 7 million documents in our system. And when it's coming to do alternative assessments, here's the CCID database, which helps with that, the ChemSec, the CNL inventory, the CompTox dashboard, the EPA's CompTox dashboard that has about 700,000 chemicals in it, the endocrine disruptor information, the Gestis substance database from Germany, GHS Japan, the ITER database, the OECD existing chemicals database, PubChem, we've added about 400,000 links to the PubChem compound database. We've also linked to the PubChem GHS classification database. Linking to the TEDx, while we have the TEDx list of substances, we've also linked to their monographs or documents on their particular website. We've added the MAC collection from Germany. And of course, then we've added the WMIS records as well. This is all information that is typically used in conducting a alternative assessment of some kind. So the key takeaways we'd like for you to walk away with is that, or are that, ToxPlanet will provide you, using ToxPlanet provides you timeliness. The content we have on our website is typically updated within 72 hours, and so we have the most current information available on our website. Accessibility, it's accessible on the internet, it's easy to use, as you can see. We've normalized index and appearance, so you don't need to worry about chemical terminology when you're looking for the chemicals that you're interested in. When you search on a chemical, you'll be able to find what's in our system. Usability, I just showed you the system for 5 or 10 minutes, and it's very simple to use, and you can see that it would be very simple to include in your workflow. And of course, it goes without saying, I think, is that we would save you an incredible amount of time using our system. We monitor something on the order of 600 websites on a daily web basis for new content, and searching our system is akin to searching 600 databases, 600 websites at the same time using a normalized index. Anne-Marie, at this point I'd like to turn it back over to you and see if we have any questions.
Well, so far it appears that you are brilliantly explaining all this, because I haven't seen any questions come up, but I invite everybody to go ahead and use the question panel, and we're watching for it, and see if anything shows up. So Matt, why don't you tell them a little bit about your time at SOT, since this is a repeat presentation, a command or performance.
Last week, Judy Morton and I attended the Society of Toxicology conference in Baltimore, and we were given the chance to give this presentation to a group of about 20 people, and it went really well. What was really nice about going to the SOT is hearing from our existing customers coming by the booth and telling us how much time we save them. And I think, though, that there are two takeaways from the conversations with with them. The first is just the sheer amount of time that we save them. But we save them time in two different ways. One is by providing them simple and quick access to content that they're looking for. The second thing is, and we heard this repeatedly, is that people are fairly confident that if they don't find anything in our website, in our system, they're not going to find anything anywhere else. And I'm not suggesting that we have everything about every possible compound, but as far as published content in the public domain, content that's available on websites, great literature, if you can't find some information on ToxPlanet, chances are you're not going to be able to find information anywhere else. And it gives them a confidence level that they don't necessarily need to keep fishing for content because they know that they're not going to be able to find anything.
Okay, but one question did come up. Can you have multiple profiles for different types of searches in MyExpert? That's from Kraska.
Good question. The answer is currently no. We've heard that request before, and it's in the queue of things to work on, but we currently do not offer the ability to have multiple MyExperts.
Okay, you know, one of the things you'd also mentioned, Matt, that I know you were a little surprised at when you were at SOT was how many of your power users were not aware of all the new collections you've added. I guess in this world everybody's overwhelmed with a lot of information, but can you tell a little bit more about that?
Yes, I think our users are just like anybody in the sense that once you start using software, regardless of what it is, you get comfortable with the way you use it, and you tend not to go beyond what you currently use. So I mentioned that people typically use the same 20 databases over and over, and people tend not to look for new content. The only time sometimes these people users find a new collection is perhaps when it's the only collection that pops up. So they were surprised to learn that we've added 45 databases. These are people that use the system every day, 5 or 6 times a day. They were surprised to learn about the content. And then the second thing that's real surprising is that people still don't use MyExpert. The percentage of people that use our system on a regular basis do not use MyExpert. And I think it's because we really haven't done a good job of publicizing it, and we're starting to work on that. But I encourage everyone to set up MyExpert and use it that way because it will save you even more time.
Great. And actually just a flurry of a bunch more questions just came in. So one starts with an apology. I'm sorry if I didn't catch you. If you were linked to the EPA CompTox dashboard, which in turn links to Google Scholar, etc., for literature reviews. Is there something built into the system to assist with that?
Good question. Yes, we are linked to the CompTox dashboard. In fact, we have a working relationship with them, and Tony, if you know Tony Williams, the gentleman who's running that project, he and I have known each other now for some time, and we're working together. So linking to CompTox was because of his help. I'm familiar with the Google Scholar searching on that site, and I think they've also implemented the PubChem widget and another link, a full text link, I can't remember right now. You have that available by going through us to the CompTox dashboard. That functionality is not currently available on ToxPlanet, but it's definitely something that we will be incorporating just like they did. And then a second thing is that when you go to the CompTox dashboard, they link out to, let's just say, 30 different additional sources. One of them happens to be ToxPlanet, so they're linking back to us. And then I am constantly looking at that website and adding whatever they're linking to. So the links on their site, the EPA website, should be, or I take that back, the links on our website should be very similar, if not exact, to the links that CompTox dashboard now has.
Okay. Thank you. We have a question now from Robert. Does ToxPlanet identify analog compounds?
That's a good question, and the answer is currently no. But if you're familiar with the similar compound searching on PubChem, which allows you to search on a single chemical, go down to the related compounds section, and then click on similar compounds, and it pulls up compounds that are similar based on the Tanimoto scale. We are currently working on adding that functionality to our system. We're exploring how we're extracting the content from PubMed and adding it to our system. So the answer is no, but we're working on it, and we'll let you know when we can add it to the system.
Okay.
I'm sorry, well, I got one other
Sure.
thing, but the idea being is that you'll be able to do a search on our system, and if there are hits, let's say benzene, you do a search on benzene, well, still, not only will you have the benzene information, but then you'll have access to analogs or similar compounds. Perhaps the better application is, particularly for read across, is to do a search on compound A. There are no, or there is very little information on compound A, but we give you access to compound B, C, and D, which may be able to provide you more information for that compound.
Okay. If I interpreted what you said, it sounds like you don't technically have it, but there's a workaround?
No, we do not currently have it.
Okay, just want to be clear there. Next question is, will you be expanding the list of chemicals to include botanicals? For example, is there something within ToxPlanet to, oh wait, that's a different question. That's it, botanicals.
So the question is, are we adding botanicals?
To chemicals.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So we have some botanicals in there by virtue of that content appearing in FDA publications and Artex and things like that. We do have some botanical information, but we don't necessarily have any botanical collections per se. But that was something that was brought up at SOT last week, and certainly something that's on our list to explore. Having said that, is if you have any specific ideas or suggestions as to what collections would be a nice fit, please let us know and we'll explore adding those.
Okay. Let's see here. This panel that I have to read the questions is super tiny. Is there something within ToxPlanet to perform literature searches as well? Is it, and then another is it possible to receive an update alert for new data documents associated with certain chemicals? So that was two questions.
Two questions. So the first question is, the only literature type information that we have in our system is ToxLine. So that's the bibliographic or abstract and index information from NLM. And so that's really the sum total of journal type content that we have. A couple of our databases, HSTB and Artex, link out to sources of journal content, but those are references embedded in monographs. It's not a way to search a collection for journal content, so we do not have that. I'm sorry, Anne-Marie, what was the second question? Anne-Marie?
Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry.
Oh.
We're all suffering with allergies down here, so I keep muting myself. Is it possible to receive an alert or an update for new data or documents associated with a certain chemical?
No, not today. That's not something that we do.
You're getting lots of good ideas from these guys. It's good stuff.
Absolutely.
Another one, I have been focusing on skin sensitizers, and unlike other toxic endpoints, there are no readily available list of threshold values or similar tox values, e.g. CDFs, RFDs, etc. Is there any database or databases that would have skin sensitization thresholds or similar values?
The answer is I don't know off the top of my head, and I can certainly get back to you. I think that type of information would be scattered throughout a number of our databases, so I don't think there's any one place where you can go find that information in one place.
All right. Well, that question was Mike Easter, and I'll make sure that I have notes for you so that you can respond to any of these people if there's any updates. That was all the questions we had. And if I may say, this is a very engaged audience, and really delighted for all the questions that we got and the interest that has been shown.
Well, thank you, everyone. We appreciate your being here and the time that you shared with us, and hopefully you learned something and benefit from it.
Did we talk about the 15-day trial?
Oh, no, we didn't.
There's a 15-day trial.
Oh, there you go. So for people on the call who do not happen to be existing ToxPlanet customers, we'd like to offer you a 15-day trial of our product. For 15 days, you can be just like a ToxPlanet user and benefit from every database and every document and every update in our system. You'll have full access to the entire product, and we're a fairly low-key organization, and we won't hammer you or pester you, and we'll give you a chance to take a look at the product, and if it's a good fit, we'd be glad to have you as one of our customers.
Wonderful. Well, I think we can call it a day. This seems like a pretty good session.
Great. Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Bye-bye.